Hello!
Hello.
It's like black tea and like fucking... Guys.
God, they both just posted it up back there. You want some?
You want some black tea?
Oh, jeez.
Hello, champions! My name is Guy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm joined by...
Dawn, it's me again.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. You told me yesterday that you wanted to make a video, and I was like, okay, so I'm here and I'm ready. I'm a willing participant. I don't know what we're doing. I signed the releases, and there's no turning back now.
What I want to do, I'm gonna read you a couple things. I just need your emotional support and your honest opinions, you know? There's only one more thing that I ask of you.
Okay.
This notion may seem ridiculous, but that's why the conspiracy works and why people are afraid to speak out against it. So I, myself, and the community of this subreddit would ask you to approach the evidence put forward here with an open mind.
Was that something you were reading, or was that you?
It was half reading this and half my own words.
Okay. I will take that. I will heed that advice as a friend. Let's get into this rabbit hole you've grabbed my arm and pulled me into.
This is a subreddit designed to discuss and theorize upon the belief that Finland is not a real country.
Okay, let's see the evidence.
I'm just gonna read this, all right? Feel free to comment whatever point. We're going into this with an open mind. That means accepting this as a possibility, but also, accepting outside knowledge to try to, come to the accurate realization.
Now, I've never been to Finland. I will come at this to this bias. I have no visual proof it's real.
This was posted by user PM Me Nice Messages, purveyor of truth. The Finland Conspiracy states that Finland is not a real country. Not only is it not a real country, but there is actually no landmass there at all. And the space between Sweden and Russia is actually empty ocean.
I'm going to close my door. Is my first thought.
Don't want anyone to hear this discussion.
Clearly, he has a goal here, and he's not letting anyone stop him, which I can admire. He's not letting anyone bully him into silence. If he wants to speak his truth, I will listen. Because you asked me to.
Finland was first created sometime during the Cold War between Russia and the West. It was also around this time that environmentalism and the idea of preserving our planet was really taking off. It is due to both of those things that two of the main players in the Finland conspiracy came to work closely together, Russia and Japan. I already have a note. Some of you already know this. If you're part of my Discord, you do know this. I actually already recorded this video by myself at one point, and the video file corrupted.
The fact that it, was there, can you confirm or deny that Russian espionage played a part in that video corrupting?
I didn't even think of that.
I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there,
1947 was the official start of the Cold War. What year was Finland founded? 30 years before, in 1917. And I don't say that as a debunking, because, history can be rewritten. But yeah, in the name of honest and open conversation, I'm gonna pull up some other evidence that may or may not confirm this theory. All right. Japan-Soviet relations had always been shaky at best, but also incredibly secretive. Even as early as 1925, Japan and the Soviet Union had secret deals with each other regarding fishing rights between the two countries, with the Soviet Union giving up much of its fishing rights to Japan with seemingly no explanation as to why. Do you have an explanation, Don?
As a political giant and an experienced delegate in world relations, I have to say that that's a little funky. It's a little weird. I mean, they could just be trying to be nice. That's not really what political superpowers tend to do.
Now, there is something very interesting. You see, I just pulled up the Wikipedia page for Japanese-Soviet relations. The Russian Civil War and recognition began in 1917, the same year Finland was founded. Does that mean anything? I don't know.
Probably not, but maybe.
The poor relations between the Soviet Union and Japan from the 1920s until the late 1940s originated in Japan's victory over Imperial Russia. So Japan won at this point, right? During the Russian Civil War, Japan used it as an opportunity to occupy a Russian town place. I'm going to pull up Google Maps just so we can get a picture about where Japan and Russia are in relation to each other. So here's Japan down here. Russia comes down into over here. So they share this sea right here. If we look right here, after Russia was defeated in 1905, Japan took control of these two islands, the Sakhalin
or Sakhalin.
Sakhalin Island, Colin from the movie hit movie Brothers.
Go watch in YouTube channels.
Yeah, go watch. Link in the top right to Brothers the movie featuring Don Ralston as Colin. There was a lot of turmoil during this particular time period between 1917 and 1925. So I guess there's another point. If Japan and Russia are fighting right now, why would they start a country together, you know? You know what I mean?
Like having a child. Why would they start a country together in such a rough spot in their relationship?
Do they think that it's gonna fix their relationship? It's not. It'll just make the new country's life so much worse.
This fake country that they're fabricating.
Yeah. I guess, but I guess there's a thing. Why would they start a country in a time of turmoil? Maybe the turmoil was fabricated so that everyone would ask the questions we just did, where it's like, why are you starting a country right now?
And that's how we can look out and see back in time and be like, oh, they just let them fish all over here? Why? Because they weren't actually at war.
Now, here's the most important piece, I think. After all of these wars, an agreement was registered in the League of Nations Treaty Series, and this agreement permitted Japanese nationals to fish in the waters of the Pacific Ocean adjacent to the Soviet coastline. So that's what the theory was saying. Why would they just let people fish there? For no reason. It was to end a war. Relations were established, treaties were signed, and it allowed Japanese nationals to fish in those waters.
I'm just excited to see where this goes. He's got to have some big evidence, because obviously it's not going to be this.
This evidence that's shaky at best so far.
There's nothing about why Russia would want to or how they went about it. It's more just about their allies that they did it with. If he talked about irrefutable evidence, I'm waiting for this irrefutable evidence, because clearly you be refuted.
Oh baby, I'm gonna refute. In fact, the entire past 100 years of Japanese-Russian relations bring up many unanswered questions. Why, at the height of World War II, were the battles between these two countries minimal, despite being on opposing sides? Why did Japan sign a peace treaty with Russia in 1941, just months before their allies Germany went to war with Russia? Why were relations between Japan and Russia always good through the Cold War, despite the major geopolitical differences between the countries and close geographical positions that you think would cause tensions? The answer is simple. They shared a common secret, a common asset that worked in both of their favors, and that asset was Finland. Yeah, it could also be the peace treaties that they just signed too. That's my other thought.
Could be a bit of that.
But I guess the other thing is Japan did do some pretty messed up things during World War II.
We all did. It was a bad time.
It was a bad time. That's fair.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, just from my memory, I think World War II was a bad time.
Couldn't really just sit back and watch some Guy MRY videos.
I think if Guy MRY videos existed during World War II, there just wouldn't be a war.
Yeah, I think all of the superpowers involved would have been a little too busy watching this quality content.
It's unclear when Finland was first brought up. Some say it was during the Cold War, and others say it was as far back as the 1920s. I say it was 1917 when Google tells me Finland was founded. But the necessity of Finland is quite simple. Japan can fish in the region of ocean between Sweden and Russia without worry for environmental repercussions. After all, nobody's going to expect fishing regulations to be broken in a place where everybody thinks there's a landmass, will they? And in return, Russia gets a percentage of the fish to distribute amongst their populace. I do have one thought. I know I keep stopping this.
Well, what's your thought? Because I have a few, and I'd love to hear yours.
My thought. You have a thought? Give me your thought. Give me your thought first.
I feel like Swedish people would have noticed. And also, I don't know if they would go through the trouble at that point. Two superpowers who are on opposing sides of a big war to be like, let's fake an entire country just so we can have our own secret fishing spot.
I mean, dude, the few times we've gone fishing, like, it's always been so busy. I mean, wouldn't you make up an elaborate conspiracy just to have your own little, like, fishing hole all to yourself?
Shark in the water. There's a shark in the water. Like,
yeah, my thought was going to be Japan's over here. Finland is all the way over here. Most of Russia's population is over here on the west. So why would it be Japan coming to fish over at Finland rather than letting Russia fish at Finland and then Japan gets this ocean?
that's a very good point.
It's a simple case of fishing in the Finnish Sea, transporting it across Russia. That was the real reason for the construction of the Trans-Siberian Railway, by the way, and then shipping it from eastern Russian coast to Japan under the disguise of Nokia products.
I mean, what else did you disguise it as?
Would you say that you are a connoisseur of Nokia products?
Yeah. And when they're being shipped, they're often kept refrigerated.
That is why Nokia is the largest Finnish company, and it is also why Japan is the largest importer of Nokia products, despite the fact that very few people own Nokia phones in the country.
Did you take a poll?
Yeah. How many people own Nokia products in Japan? Sorry, I feel like we're getting into the territory of clowning on this theory. We gotta.
Yes. Let's take a step back. People ship things under fake names all the time. Does it really translate to fish? Is the question.
That is a wonderful question. There's about 10 questions here. What I want to do now, somebody will ask a question. We'll give the answer from the point of the Finland conspirators, but then I think that we should also analyze these questions. We'll try to come up with an alternative answer, and not in the name of shitting on the Finland conspiracy, but in the name of finding the truth. Got it?
Yeah.
All right. What about Finnish people? Are they all in on the conspiracy? No. People from Finland genuinely believe they are from Finland. In reality, they are from... Wait, are you laughing already?
I'm eating.
You're eating? Okay. It looked an awful lot like laughing. In reality, they are from small towns on either the eastern part of Sweden, the western part of Russia, or the northern part of Estonia.
Are they being gaslit or brainwashed?
I would say probably a little bit of both. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl bossed a little bit?
Probably a lot, a heavy dose of all three. It doesn't explain why they believe wholeheartedly they're from Finland. I'd like a little more answer on that.
First of all, Helsinki's a pretty big city. So let's just say Helsinki is like here on Estonia, right? If you were trying to drive to this town, which I'm not going to try to pronounce its name, you just drive north. But if Helsinki is here and you try to drive north, you just drive into the ocean. If Helsinki was here, you could drive north up to that town and not be super suspicious. But then if you were trying to drive east, you just drive into the ocean.
The whole fact that this is a hoodwinked on Sweden is the craziest part. Like, it'd have to be every neighboring country in on it.
Myth busted? I don't know. You decide.
Yeah, they're all no. We've confirmed that they don't believe they're actually from Finland. They're all Soviet spies.
Yeah. Question 2. What about all of Finland's other exports other than Nokia? Finland's 3 biggest and 3 most well-known areas of industry are oil, tech, and software. The oil is gathered on offshore platforms where the rest of us believe the landmass of Finland is. Again, the Japanese get to avoid rigging regulations in this respect. And tech companies have already been explained above with the Nokia post. And software companies can easily redirect their IP address through the Finnish Sea. As for the other Finnish exports, well, claiming Santa comes from your country is not a viable way to get people to believe in it.
I don't want to be disrespectful. It feels like he's being disrespectful at this point.
The person writing the post?
Yeah,
Is the person writing this a mole? Well, the other thing I'm thinking is, what if this person was sent by the Russian government or the Japanese government to put forth evidence that while could be true, is pretty easily disputable to keep the secret of Finland alive.
Like we're all like, yeah, look at this crazy Reddit post, ha ha ha. But really, it's true. You know, that's a hot take. There's still no accounting for all the hundreds, if not thousands of miniature exports from small companies all around the world. It's just like he couldn't go through and explain every single export or import to Finland. So like he hits the big three and then hits you with a zinger. Santa Claus doesn't make your country real. Like, so I just felt like, yeah, it's to throw us off the scent here.
Number 3. And here's the one I have pretty damn good evidence for, I guess against. What about Helsinki? That's an enormous city on the world stage. Helsinki is located in eastern Sweden. It's not like people flying there would notice. Here's where my biggest piece of evidence comes in, because you could easily disprove this one with nothing but a compass. If you stand in Helsinki, take a compass and look south, you're gonna see ocean. This town is called Espoo.
That's not part of the conversation. We just want to point that out.
If Helsinki was in eastern Sweden and you took a compass and looked south, you're gonna see land. I mean, maybe Helsinki could be here, but then if you were in Helsinki, take a compass, get in a boat, sail straight south, you'll end up in Estonia. Specifically in this town, Tallinn, I believe it's pronounced. If you were here and you sailed a boat straight south, you're gonna end up in Poland. And it's going to take a long ass time.
And people have probably done that.
I would imagine that there's some sort of ferry service between Estonia and Finland. Unless, you know what, maybe, okay, ready? Listen to this. Maybe St. Petersburg has developed a gigantic magnet. And so if you hold a compass over here, it's going to read south. And you'll think you're going south to end up in Estonia, but you're actually heading east.
Holy shit, you did it. Question 3 answered.
Question 3 answered. A theory from both sides. Although I guess that would mess with all the other compasses around the area, but we don't have to worry about that.
Santa Claus isn't real.
What?
You heard me? He came from Finland. So what does that mean about Finland?
We watched a video about a Santa school together. You were there. Oh God, I didn't know you were a Santa denier.
Santa's not real.
This is where I watch Santa Diaper Rapper.
I hate you so much.
Question 4. What about everywhere else in Finland? There's a lot to it. It couldn't all be made up. 99% of Finland is forest. A lot of it doesn't need to be accounted for when addressing Finnish geography. In the name of fairness, I want to point out that's not a very strong argument.
Not as strong, all right? No. Because even if it is, you didn't explain the rest of the places.
Number 5. Why do other countries go along with it? So now it looks like other countries are officially aware of the fact that Finland doesn't exist. They're not trying to keep it from other like major countries. The answer was, at first it was a sign of goodwill between Western countries and the Soviet Union, a bargaining chip that could be played. Sorry, I already have a thought about that. Is the fact that we were at war for like 40 years? This is one of the evidence about people who say like the moon landing was fake. I do believe that the moon landing was real, but to me, it's a much more understandable theory. The why question for why we would fake the moon landing has some very strong evidence behind it. So what I'm about to say is not to debunk the moon landing, but I'm going to use a piece of evidence in comparison. And it's that the moon landing happened during the Cold War. We were at war with Russia, and the whole thing was a race between the United States and Russia. Russia said we did it. Russia believed that we got to the moon. If we were at war, Russia would have had every reason to debunk the fact that we went to the moon. That's one of the pieces of evidence that I have, and I bring that up because it works the same here. The United States, why would we put a sign of goodwill towards a country that we were actively in an antagonized relationship with? Editor's note, and I just got out of the shower, so excuse my wet hair. What if the US learned about the fact that Finland doesn't exist around the same time that we went to the moon? And Russia had the dirt on the fact that we didn't go to the moon, and we had the dirt that Finland didn't exist. And so that was what the bargaining chip was. Maybe it was that, you know, the two of them, the two world superpowers had a secret they had to keep. Otherwise, the other country would reveal their secret. Just some food for thought.
And also, at this point, like, if the Western countries and most of Europe know, then what are we hiding? But the whole gain of faking Finland was to get around the fishing regulations and the environmental stuff. So if all of those places know about it, it's not like the populace is going to be able to do anything legally about that.
That's a good point.
If all the other countries know and are just cool with you fucking off in the sea, then why don't we just dub it the Dead Sea? We already have the Dead Sea.
But Finland has since evolved into something much more, an idealistic placeholder for what countries should aspire to be. No real country could so consistently place first in education, healthcare, gender equality, literacy rates, national stability, the least corrupt government in the world, and freedom of the press. It's a concept for countries and people to aspire to, but that's where the problems about Finland's existence is disputed. No country in the world can possibly be that good.
This dude's just dogging on Finland.
Obviously, one of the countries around the world has to place first in education. We can't all be the worst at it. Somebody's going to be the best. And I feel like whoever's the best in education naturally is going to have the highest rate of everything else. Because the people are educated. The people understand how to do this stuff because they're educated. Now for the next point. This is my favorite point. Why the name Finland? Answer. The country was originally made for fishing. What do fish have? Fins. Thus.
And it was meant to pretend to be land. So obviously we'd add that in there.
What if they called it Landland?
Landland.
Treeland.
Earthland. There's some ground here.
Yeah, just some ground here, Lind.
Some ground here.
You know, here's another point though, is it called a fin in Japanese and Russian?
Yeah, aren't things translated?
What
right?
Do Finnish people call Finland? Suomi is the word for Finland in Finnish. What?
This is a tangent. We can
no.
So I'm mostly just curious.
What do Japanese people call Finland? Finrando. A terrible pronunciation, but
Finlando.
Sure.
Finlando.
so we do got Finn in there. All right. Now,
Okay.
what do Japanese people call Finns?
Well,
Hire.
hot take.
Hire.
What about Russian? Finn in Russian?
Plovnik.
Plavnik. What do Russians call Finland? This is not answering my question. Google is covering this shit up. We just got 3 more questions, all right? 8. I'm Finnish, and your attack on my people and culture is insulting. Answer. I'm not insulting Finnish people or culture. I don't even deny that there is a Finnish culture. When you have a collective of a few million people identifying as Finnish, then of course a culture will be built around it. I'm simply saying that the landmass of Finland isn't actually there. It doesn't mean there can't be a culture or identity of being Finnish. And I would say that's true. The only thing that's keeping me from fully believing it is the fact that if there was nothing there, the Finnish, instead of having a mass that's Finland, it would be like the outskirts. And nobody would truly be, connected cross ways. They'd only be connected to like the people next to them, and the culture would be very different. But it makes sense. A culture can form out of anywhere. So like it's a sensible explanation. Number 9. This is an enormous conspiracy to keep secret. How could nobody have realized it? Answer. Other people have realized it. But imagine the ridiculous of the statement, I don't believe Finland exists. Even if we did have undeniable proof of something put in front of us, we would still hold the opinion that most of our friends, family, and acquaintances hold to not disrupt social convention. It's part of the human condition.
As strong as in evidence in most cases that is of just keeping quiet, not to sound crazy. Someone out there has enough money to at least buy one person a plane ticket or a helicopter ride who doesn't believe them that Finland doesn't exist, and then fly directly over where Finland should be, showing them that it doesn't exist. And now these 2 people go out, and I feel like it would just spread. And then what can you do besides be like, I guess it's not there? But no one's done that, because I feel like when it really comes down to the brass tacks, you'd go there and it would be there, because it's a bit ridiculous to say in the age of the internet, a secret like this could stay quiet because of how much people love to break people's brains and be the first one to say something and be the one who's right. And if someone knew Finland didn't exist, they'd be screaming it from the rooftops. And then anyone who's like, you're wrong, it's like, go to Finland. If it truly didn't exist, someone out there on TikTok would be filming themselves driving a boat through Finland and being like shot or whatever by Russian spies.
Yeah.
But all the
oil rigs double as sniper towers.
Yeah.
What is the annual tourism rate of Finland?
Finland attracted over 6.8 million foreign tourists in 2018, with 53% coming from other European Union states.
So 6.8 million people came to Finland in 2018. I was going to say, it just said also too, 53% of the tourists came from other EU nations. At least a few of them would probably drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm at like Swedes, especially. You would follow the road and see, that's the thing. Flying in, I can understand how you could be duped if you're flying in or boating in. But driving in, following these roads very specifically, is going to be a lot harder task to cover up. I guess you could think you're over here, but let's say somebody from Sweden, let's say somebody from Stockholm is driving from Stockholm to Helsinki. If Helsinki is actually on the east coast of Sweden, somebody from Stockholm would drive all the way around, assuming this is not here, into Russia to be in Finland, but Helsinki would be over here. So another hole, just saying, a barrel doesn't hold much water if it's full of holes. Last but not least, what about GPS and satellite images? Answer, it's manipulated and forged. In the parts of Estonia, Sweden, and Russia that are allocated as Finnish zones, the GPS locations are changed to match that of Finland. Satellite images are forged. This is how that part of the world really looks. Empty. You seem like you have you seem like you have a burning thought in your brain right now.
But you told me I can't be disrespectful.
You know, here we go.
So I'm not.
We've reached the end of it. This is the last piece. So now we're on to the opinion section. So you know what? Go ham.
The global positioning satellites could be fabricated. You can walk into Finland. Like you were saying, you can drive. You can walk into Finland. You can be in Sweden. You can be in Russia. You can be in 6 other countries probably, and you could walk to Finland. Like you can talk on the internet, and you can bring up all this evidence of these weird deals between Russia and Japan that don't add up, and these weird imports and exports from Finland that you can say were not phones and are actually fish. But then if you ever actually tried to physically prove this, like you can draw this map, you can do all this stuff, but there was no physical evidence. It was only hearsay. All he did was, this is a little weird, so it must mean that there's this huge conspiracy that Finland is fake. There's a big ocean there, and just nobody knows. It's just impossible.
Improbable.
Impossible.
You can see the coast of Tallinn from Helsinki. How do you explain this? No, you can't. You cannot.
Is that really him?
Yeah, it's PM me nice messages, purveyor of truth.
No, you can't.
It's a fucking projector.
It's a fucking projector.
There's a giant cardboard cutout in the shape of Tallinn. The drive from Helsinki to Moscow is a short one and doesn't cross any bodies of water. Are you sure Helsinki is in Sweden? There are 2 identical Helsinkis, one in Russia and one in Sweden.
Identical, with the same fucking people.
Yeah.
They're all clones.
They're all actors. You don't drive to Helsinki. Helsinki moves towards you. Helsinki is actually a ship built to look like a piece of landmass with a city on it.
It just docks.
Like Dr. Doofenshmirtz, like floating city. Do you remember that episode?
There's a bright, shiny place with a flag that bears my face, and it's floating on an inner tube.
Who's to say?
As interesting as this theory was, I'm going to go ahead and say that it did not convince me. I'm still not a believer. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe so that you can become a champion as well and get a pizza
this big.
This big! Leave this video a like if you liked it. If you want to help me grow, share this video with a friend. Maybe they'll like it too. Oh, he Mambo number 5? Don really
Subscribe.